Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this meeting of Annapolis County Council. I'm going to start off with roll call. When I call out the number of your district, if you just respond with your name, please. District 1.
Proud.
Thank you. District 2.
McDonald.
District 3.
Wayne Fowler.
District 4.
McNeil.
District 5.
Gregory Hemming.
District 6.
Alec Morrison.
District 7 is myself, Timothy Abinsky. District 8.
Michael Gunn.
District 9.
Wendy Sheridan.
District 10.
Arthur Roberts.
And District 11.
Diane LeBlanc.
Thank you very much. So you've got the agenda before you. We have a request to alter the order of the agenda a little bit in order to bring our in-camera session from item 9 and put it, let's be right between items 3 and 4 in the agenda. And Carolyn, I saw your hand up as well.
In addition to the in-camera, under the same item there, E-contract negotiations.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks very much. We have a motion. You've got the minutes from our meeting of September the 15th. A motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Moved by Councillor Fowler and seconded by Councillor Hemming. Did you note any errors or omissions in those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks very much. Could I have a motion now to go in camera in accordance with the MGA section 2E contract negotiations?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks very much. Thank you very much, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to the open portion of our council meeting. I believe we have 2 items to be added to the agenda. Deputy Warden, would you?
I'd like to add a wheeling rate agreement and workshop on Basin View Center.
Would you and Carolyn, perhaps we could have those placed on the agenda next so we can simply deal with them right away.
Yeah, can I get a seconder for that, please?
The motion seconded by Councillor Gunn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. All right. So we need a motion, first of all, with reference to the wheeling rate. And I believe, Carolyn, you've got the recommended wording for that.
Yes, that the warden and clerk be authorized to sign the wheeling rate agreement with the town of Annapolis Royal regarding the water line addition for Hillside Drive.
Is that your motion, Deputy Warden?
Yes.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder for that motion, please?
McNeil.
Seconded by Councillor Hemming. All in favor, discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. And the second motion I'll go to Councillor Morrison for.
Thank you. I move that council hold a workshop on Basin View Center.
Seconded again by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Shall we set a date for that right now or see? Is it the intention of council to have this a workshop for current council, or is it a request to go to the next council? Councillor Sheridan.
I would recommend to keep them in the loop, to have the new counselors, we can have it, all of us can be there, but to include the new counselors. Just so we don't have to have everything repeated to them when they come in. I think it would be kind of nice of us to include them.
Is there any objection to that, folks?
Nope.
Just if I may add, just keep in mind it's council's workshop.
Yeah.
So you
Yes.
have to be mindful of the participation, that's all. Them coming in and monitoring, no issue, but it's really a council workshop.
Okay, we could make it clear to the new councilors until they're sworn in that they can be with us, but they can't
Yeah.
participate. Okay.
Observer status only, that's right.
How about the 28th?
October 28th is a Wednesday. What time? 10 o'clock? Okay,
What time? 10 o'clock?
that's right.
Will we have everything we need by then? Steve?
There is, I guess I'll sit down with John and we'll talk about what the scope of the workshop will include. I mean, this may be more of a, in my mind, more of a, I hate to use the term roadmap, but roadmap forward. In terms, I don't think we're going to have any additional information by the 28th in terms of the engineering. They may have some additional recommendations, and perhaps council in the workshop can have a discussion about how to move it into the public realm. But it's, you know, we can gather up costs, past capital costs, current operating costs, that kind of stuff. But I don't think there'll be any opportunity to have any additional engineering available by the 28th.
What time frame would be required in order to have that information available, Steve?
I would have to speak with the engineers and look at. There's some long-term observations to be done when we talk about surveying the two buildings and see if they're still slipping, and come up with some engineering options in terms of dealing with any kind of ongoing settlement with the pool. And there's also maybe some discussion about what are the building options. So it's a pretty broad subject.
It is broad. I tend to be of the opinion that it makes more sense to have the workshop when we do have more concrete data available from the engineers, which would make me want to not set a date right now. And perhaps you could have a discussion with the engineers, Stephen, to find out what their time frame is and bring that back to council and then use that in order to set the date for the workshop. Otherwise, I think we're going to wind up needing to meet twice.
That's right.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. So let's,
Hold on.
oh, Councillor Gunn.
Thank you. So if we're having a workshop with this council, if we've got a new council coming in, I don't disagree that they can observe. But I do disagree on them getting involved in an opinion, because quite obviously they're public at this point, not until they're sworn in. They're still public. We've, as somebody has pointed out before, we are councillors until, when is it, the 10th of November, the committee of the whole on that day. So if we're going to do this and try to come to some decision, then I say we do it. You can invite them along so that they can see what's going on, but I don't think they should be involved in it at all. And other than, observing it.
That's what we said.
That's this council. Okay, that's this council.
That's what was said though, Michael.
Yes.
It was said.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. I didn't get it all. Then.
that's fine.
Deputy Warden.
Well, and I mean, to have a workshop, we need all the information in front of us, so we don't have to repeat ourselves. We need it all so we can deal with it in one session and understand it. It's difficult to understand things when you get it in pieces, because then there's a lot going on and sometimes we forget what we've already read or discussed. And I think that we should have all the information in front of us, the phase 3, and have it done.
Okay, so I think we're in agreement in that case. Stephen's going to discuss with the engineers when we'll have the next round of concrete information, and we won't set a date for this workshop until we're aware of what that time frame looks like.
Perfect.
Councillor Sheridan.
So the next phase, is that something that's already included in what they're doing, or is this additional cost? Is that the phase that they're going to cut out a 6x6 slab? No?
That's the actual work.
That's the actual work. So what is the next phase? Is it all in our budget is, I guess, what I'm asking.
I'll review that with the engineers. I think from kind of a tabletop exercise and maybe some geotechnical investigations. We've already had some significant coring and some foundation excavation done already. So I'll see what they're recommending in terms of that, and I'll bring it up through the CAO as to where we need to go from here. Whether it results in additional costs, it may, but I can't say for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I would anticipate there will be a cost.
I would too.
Could we know how much before we, I mean, because we had a motion passed a few weeks ago before any additional spending that would come to council to get approved. So I would just ask that if we could have that come to council to have approved.
Yeah, well, I guess if that's the case, then we would ask for a preliminary budget today. Because we really, they're doing investigation perhaps on what might be the engineering solution. That's whether they know if the building may have stopped moving. We don't know. So that's what we're trying to figure out. And I'm not sure what type of approaches they'll use, geotechnical, to figure that out. Steve, go ahead.
Let me talk with JS Held during the lunch break and maybe into the meeting as council carries on, and I'll have that, try and have that information before the end of the day.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Councillor Hannon?
Yeah, I would, and I like this because I don't think we have much to talk about until that engineering phase is done. And what I think we need to realize that the way we've left, if the engineering company comes back and say, we're not going to have anything until the 11th of November, then it's a new council discussion.
That's right.
I think we need to be prepared for that. And I'm certainly prepared to do that because I can't make any decision until that engineering's done. And if we're doing a workshop, that financial piece that we're dealing with, including a re-altering of the leases or whatever, that's a budget discussion and a contractual decision. I think that's information that's pertinent now. So I'm just saying, if the engineers comes back to us and say, you know, it's not going to be before the 10th, then I think we have to be prepared to agree that this will be a discussion for the new council. And I'm certainly prepared to do that.
Yes.
All right. Well, at this point, folks, it's a little late. I'd like to suggest we recess for lunch until 1:10. Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Councillor Hannon?
Good, and that's fine for me. I have to leave at 2 o'clock to get, I'm having some cataract surgery done. I have to be in New Minas but by 3:30.
Understood. Thank you.
I
have an appointment as well.
Just one other thing related to the audit. The audit is just about finalized. We're just working on some corrections that we think they have to make. We're supposed to meet discuss it this afternoon. I don't think we'll be discussing it this afternoon because we'll be in council. But they wanted to set a date for this Thursday.
Okay.
For the audit.
Mr. Warden,
Yeah.
Mr. Warden, it's Bruce Gillis. I don't want to interrupt, and I'm quite happy to sit here and listen to council talk about things that really don't need my input. And I'm wondering if you'd like to deal with the solicitor's monthly report and not keep paying me.
All right. So that would require a motion to go back in camera. Could I have a motion to go in camera, please? Under MGA section 22(2)F, I think. Solicitor client privilege.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Hanning. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. I'd like to welcome you back to the open portion of our meeting. At this point, I'd like to call a recess for lunch. Is 20 minutes sufficient for folks?
Yes.
All right, so let's
Right on. Okay.
at 20 past 1 o'clock. All right, thanks very much. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to our meeting of council. We're going on now to councillors' comments, and we'll do it in order of district. So District 1 to begin with.
Thank you. I'd like to begin by thanking the voters of District 1 for once again giving me the opportunity to work on their behalf as councillor for our district. And at this time, I'm feeling a little reflective. I'd like to also thank the current members of the council for having welcomed me so warmly last January when I was after the special election. The support that I've received from both councillors and staff has been greatly appreciated. And with elections often come change. I'd be remiss not to acknowledge the current councillors who will not be returning. Warden Hibinski, Deputy Warden, excuse me, Roberts, Councillors McDonald, Fowler, McNeil, and Hemming, who have been instrumental in so much that has been accomplished by this council. Your years of service have accomplished many things for our county. Looking forward, I wish the very best for our new council as we begin our work, our deliberations, and our efforts on behalf of the people of Annapolis County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Prout. District 2.
I'd like to thank all for my opportunity to work for the residents of District 2 in Annapolis County. I continued to learn throughout my 4 years and expect to learn even more today. This experience has truly been an honor. I would like to express my appreciation to my fellow councilors. We're on track for some great things for the county of Annapolis, and to the staff, well, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. District 3.
Yeah. Well, first thing I'd like to do is thank all the people that tried to keep me in the council, and I really appreciated that. And also, I got a little introduction here. I'm the first District 3 mountain councilor to get into council. Many have tried. I've been a councilor for 23 years, fire chief for 18 years, Fort Warren Fire Department, fireman for 32 years all told, grade 6 education, and illiterate. And anyway, my number one thing is the Gordonson School will be the best thing that happens to Annapolis County when it gets started here. I just wanted to say that. And my second thing, if it wasn't for Timothy Binsky, John Ferguson, and council, the Gordonson School would not be coming to Annapolis County. And the new council shouldn't take credit for the new school. And also, they also shouldn't take credit for the internet build because it was already underway. I just want to say that. And I've been taken down by a concerned citizens group of people, but it was not the first time I was taken down but it was the first time I was taken down in an election. The people from the group were very disrespectful to me while I was on my canvassing trail. And anyway, just a sec. Now that there's a concerned citizens group, they'll try to fill council every 4 years with new candidates. Every term it's going to happen. I can see it. Facebook, this group that's on Facebook, they listen to other people, whether it's the truth or not, and they take it in, whether they should or not. Anyway, and there was no mismanagement in Annapolis County Council, and that goes to Ellen Parish. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler. District 4.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to personally thank everybody that supported me over the 4 years, as well as the people that supported me during this election. If there's one thing I learned during this election, our biggest fault to an end is communication. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I think we need to get more things out to the public. We just can't say we're in litigation on this, or we're in litigation on that. We need to, some of our better points we need to get out there, but we also need to get and keep putting out information to the public. And I'm going to tell you, this last 4 years has been a pleasure working with you all. And no doubt I'll miss it, but on and upwards. Anyway, folks, thank you very much.
Thank you. Council District 5.
Thank you very much. Just a couple reflections. I'm going to miss council as well. It's been a remarkable experience for me, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve. And I really served as a rural person. I have to admit, I'm not an urbanite. I've always been a rural person. I will continue to be so. And in December of 2006, I was asked to go to Parliament in Ottawa and give comments on the Environmental Protection Act, the renewal of that. And it was a big move for me at that time. I was living in a small community in the Yukon, and I was nervous about the whole experience. And when I tried to get through the security at the in Parliament, I failed on my first attempt, and I was pulled aside. And the security guard said he pulled me aside because I appeared to be nervous. And I told him that I am nervous. I'm coming from a place, I said, where there's more moose than people. And he didn't quite understand that, pulled me aside again. And I finally got through and was able to make a few remarks. And I wanted to read you two little sentences about some thoughts that I had to them. And I would share that with council and the community here. And one of those remarks came from a Trappist monk, Thomas Merton. And he remarked, and this is a quote, "Having lost our ability to see life as a whole, to evaluate conduct as a whole, we no longer have any relevant context into which our actions are to be fitted. And therefore, all our actions become erratic, arbitrary, and insignificant." And what Trappist monk Merton was talking about, the stability is going to come from small communities. So I just want to continue to stress that there is a magnificent opportunity to be a member of a rural community. And the last one is, if there is a guiding light that has given me great strength over the last 8 years, it's something that I developed with another gentleman. It's called the ethic of place. And I'm hoping at one point that this ethic of place will be kind of a guiding light for the new council. An ethic of place respects equally the people of a region and the land, animals, vegetation, water, and air. It recognizes that people revere their physical surroundings and that they need and deserve a stable, productive economy that is accessible to those with modest incomes. An ethic of place ought to be a shared community value and ought to manifest itself in a dogged determination to treat the environment and its people as equals, to recognize both as sacred, and to ensure that all members of the community not just search for, but insist upon solutions that fulfill that ethic. So thank you, and good day.
Thank you. District 6, Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. 8 years ago, we began this councillors' comments minute to tell one another what happened in our districts and what was going to happen. It's been a very good communication technique. I expect today some of the comments will be longer than a minute. On Monday, I went down to Clark Rutherford School and protested. I held up a sign that said, "Go slow, slow down," responding to parents' concerns about the speed of vehicles when their children are dropped off at school. I met with a resident concerning the flow of water. I organized a meeting for a group of residents with a provincial official. Now, coming up events are the Lions Club Harvest Takeaway Supper on the 24th of October and the Cornwallis Park Sale on the 31st of October. I want to thank the residents of District 6 for the majority vote I received in the election. All through the campaign, I suggested a lot of things, but my only promise was to do my best, and I will. We have a lot of life in District 6, and I look forward to increasing the number of businesses. Now to some of my friends and colleagues. Gregory Hemming, who did not reoffer. He's an environmentalist extraordinaire. His remarks were always reasoned, and he's an incredible multitasker. Bert McNeil struck me as having a sense of proportion. He had a lot of humorous remarks, and always from his seat provided sweets in more ways than one. Martha Roberts. I never, ever had a doubt about any of the positions she adopted, and she was a motion reader with great diligence. Wayne Fowler, a true district politician, looked after his residents and achieved much for his district and for our county, and that's all I have to say about that. John A. MacDonald, thoughtful, persistent, and determined views, and a champion of internet questions. Timothy Habinski, who guided us through many projects and perplexing situations with knowledge and clarity. I will miss you all and hope that you will provide us with your thoughts and suggestions, albeit from a different platform. I would like to conclude with recalling that I had been returned for a third term, but please understand that 4 is my lucky number. Thank you.
Councillor Morrison. I sat down yesterday and spent a bit of time trying to figure out what my comments would be today, and found that I couldn't get anywhere. I've always had difficulty with the endings of things. When I was a child, I often skipped the final chapter of a favorite book because I felt as though if you didn't read that final chapter, the story kept going. And I feel a little that way today. Over the last 8 years, in particular the last 4, I've lived and breathed the business of the council, the business of our municipality, every waking minute. And it's very strange to hand off tasks that have been so critical to your life to a new team of people. I want to thank my colleagues on council. Each of you has taught me something valuable over the course of the time that we've been together. And we've accomplished some remarkable things. Our municipality is not in the same place it was 4 years ago. It's not in the same place it was 8 years ago. We have moved it forward. And I know that each of you have taken great care in your efforts to lift a community. And I certainly expect and hope that you will all continue to do so. There are great things ahead for this county as long as people keep their priorities in order and recognize that the horizon of every decision of council should be compassion. And as long as you stick to that, I think we'll be in good shape. I'd like to say a particular thank you to staff. Oh my word. We've put a lot of work on your plates over the last 4 years. We recognize that what we've asked of staff has been really challenging, and they have risen to every challenge. I can't think of a staff person that I've been in contact with who hasn't gone above and beyond the requirements of their position in order to try to do good things for the residents of Annapolis County. We are very, very fortunate to have all of you, and I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of what you've done. We'll end it there. District 8.
Thank you, Warden. Listen, District 8 report. Well, I'd like to begin by recognizing that this is Mi'kmaq History Month and ask that we and all Nova Scotians acknowledge the long and living history of this culture and show respect for the many who are keeping those traditions alive and for future generations. District 8 was in the spotlight last week, and the lack of water in downtown Bear River was broadcast from coast to coast. This was on the CBC episode of Still Standing that was filmed last year. I hope all enjoyed the many laughs and characters that were highlighted around the community. I heard from family and friends right across the country about how much they enjoyed Bear River being featured. On a more serious note, I do continue to be asked where we stand with the joint funding for our comfort station project in Bear River. And as far as I know, we're still waiting on the provincial government. It would have been nice if this long labored effort would have been concluded in this session of council. But and I hope staff, will continue to cage rattle to see this through. We're getting very close. Of course, internet continues to be a concern for all constituents in District 8. And as I was reminded by 3 different residents in the district last week, don't let them forget us, was their message. During the last several weeks, there have been a number of unsettling and undignified words and actions that took place with regards to this election. Now that the ballots are cast and decisions are finalized, I'm really hoping for peace and collective focus from both council and community. People are elected here to do their job. People that are elected here to do their job in the best way they know how. I'm going to encourage these incoming councilors to become informed, not just about the issues, but about the processes of municipal governance. We're all on a steep learning curve here, and the steps we need to take are often challenging. Please don't hesitate to ask if you want to know what you can expect from one situation or another. It wasn't that long ago that, you know, I was new and needed support from the more experienced people. They were always happy to help. And finally, I'd like to thank the outgoing council for your years of service to this community. Everyone brought a different background to the table. But it's been wonderful to see just how much we got done when we put our heads together. Didn't always agree, but always did the best we could with the knowledge and the resources we had available. I thank you for being here, and I wish you the very best in your upcoming adventure. Thank you.
You're muted, Timothy, but I heard you. First of all, I'd like to thank the residents of District 9 for their continued support and how much I look forward to the next 4 years. I would like to say a huge thank you to our returning officer, Doug Patterson, and his team for an excellent job. Very informative notices and updates throughout the entire election process. With the record voter turnout, this is certainly proof that our residents are willing to embrace and accept change. To the counselors that will be leaving us, thank you for all the years of hard work and dedication you have provided to the county. I have gained knowledge from each of you, and you will be missed. I wish you all the best. Congratulations to all the new counselors, along with Councilors Morrison, LeBlanc, and Prout on their successful campaigns. I'm sure with the ongoing pandemic, we will have some challenging times ahead, along with some difficult decisions. I know if we work together as a team, we can create success for Annapolis County. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, District 11. Oh, I'm sorry, District 10.
District 10.
Sorry, District 10.
First, I would like to thank the residents of District 10 for all their support for the past 12 years. They were excellent people to work for, and I enjoyed my 12 years. Second, I would like to thank my family for putting up with all they put up with over the years, and I'm very much looking forward to spending my time with my family and my grandchildren and my next adventure. Councilor Prout, Diana, Wendy, Mike, Alex, I wish you guys all the best in the future. I know that you're in there in your heart and soul, and I'm looking forward to what goes on in the future. For Wayne, Bert, and Gregory and John A., thank you very much. I enjoyed working with all of you, and I hope that we're not strangers in the future, and we'll be seeing each other soon. And as for moving on, I'm moving on to a new adventure. It's very exciting. And the only thing throughout the whole campaign that was really disappointing was the cutthroat letters that went out about counselors. And I just thought that that was not necessary and really not something that I would even enjoy participating in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councilor LeBlanc.
Thank you. I would like to say thank you to all the residents of District 11 for taking the time to vote by phone in or voting. It is my pleasure to represent you again at the council table. But at this time, I would like to say well done and thank you to Doug Patterson and Amanda Lewis, as well as all the other members of the election team for all their great work. I would like to also say thank you to the counselors that will not be here with council. Dear friends, colleagues, you have been a huge part in the decision-making in the past 4 years. We have shared great ideas and strong opinions in the discussions at the table, which was all done in finding the best solutions. However, we would always share stories, pictures of babies, etc., and a few laughs as well. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, friendship, sass, and attitude. And we all had fun. It has been a pleasure. Enjoy your next adventure. You will be missed. I would also like to congratulate the new counselors that will be joining the municipal council for the next 4 years. It will be a learning curve, as all is. I look forward to working with all of you so we can bring the best possible options for our county. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. We don't have any business arising for the minutes, but we do under new business have a report from our ad hoc committee on glyphosate. I'll see who would like to speak to this for us. got Councillor Hemming, Councillor Gunn, Councillor Prout. Would one of you like to speak to this?
Go ahead.
I'm just trying to find it on my agenda.
Yeah,
Page 13.
thank you. I may not be the best person to respond, but I will. This is a serious issue. And the three councillors met and we determined that this is serious and that we ought to expand the committee to include a couple other councillors and perhaps a health official or some other people. And that we would conduct a working session similar, I think, to what we did in forestry, to bring in some experts to help us understand the legal and health issues with spraying a chemical as toxic as that into Annapolis County. And that this committee would review some decisions that I think might be helpful. A Supreme Court decision that gave municipalities the strength to be able to restrict the spraying of toxic chemicals. So I think our thought was, and the other, Councillor Gunn and Councillor Prout, if I don't have this quite right, that we would hope to have this committee formed with other councillors by late October, early December, and perhaps have through the early winter, early spring, a series of public sessions with experts, and then that we would craft a final report by late April of next year. That's kind of my understanding.
Councillors Gunn or Prout, would you like to add anything?
Yeah. Thank you. I'll go before Bruce maybe. So yeah, back to this. We need to get a hold of the government to see if this is even possible. Of course, you know the people that are in charge of who's the Department of Law? What do they call that? Somebody help me with it. What do they call that?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Who looks after the laws? The Attorney General, is that it? Who that looks after that? Do we even have power to do this? Anything we do is at ultra vires, right? We have questions with the what is it? The Attorney General for the province looks after the laws. Bert, who is that? Is that the Attorney General or is it the Minister of? Who's the Minister of Law?
I'm not.
Oh, come on.
Not certain.
Illegal. I don't care who it is, but what do they call them?
Either Justice Minister or either one of those. He's got two.
Yeah.
He's got the two portfolios.
Yeah, the Justice Department anyway, as well as, you know, the Health Department and all of these other government departments. And then you have the other stakeholders that are in this, the Ecology Action, the people who make the stuff, right? They all have to be sort of asked some questions so that we can get our report together and make an informed report to council. That's the way I see it, you know, but we actually even have to find if we have the right to do that as a municipality in Nova Scotia, which is different than, you know, Quebec, Ontario, and the rest of them, right? So, yeah, that's what this, and yes, and if we could get this started late in this year, very early next year, we could have a series of Zoom meetings with the pertinent stakeholders. We had thought that we might have them in not longer sessions than 2 hours. Wasn't that right, gentlemen, that we would hold these to like 2 hours so we could hold people's attention and get our information, ingest our information, get it down so that we don't lose it, because you guys all know how Zoom meetings can be. You know, it's hard to keep track of everything. So if we did it in smaller sessions, then we might be able to compile a little more information, put it together for a report, and then June, July next summer, we can report that to council. That's the idea. We can bring get a hold of all the stakeholders, over the spring and have something really, and the Department of Education, because it becomes an educational piece in the end of it as well, as to how do we encourage, educate farmers that there's another way. This has become very cheap, easy, practical way of them doing farming right now. It's the same in forestry. It's cheap, it's easy, it's out there, it's quick. We can do it mechanically. And we're not really thinking about the future. Doesn't matter how it's applied, it always ends up on the ground. It might not drift, but it always ends up on the ground. It will always end up in our water table. It will always have detrimental effects to our future generations. But they'll plan the glyphosates. Over. I'm done.
Thank you. Councillor Prout, would you like to add?
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to also say we had discussions, and it's very important. I mean, this group grew out of a concern that was brought to myself and perhaps others from people working in the farming industry. And I think it's very important. We talked about making sure that the Department of Agriculture is represented. Opportunity for anyone involved in that sector to make comments and so on. I know the last two things we said they're under the Mersey Tobiatic Research Institute. We said, and more, because this takes in so much of what we do here in the Valley. And there are people from different segments coming at this problem from all different directions. And I think it's important to hear all the voices. And I hope we can come together, as Councillor Gunn has said, and Councillor Hemming, and come to the best possible solution and way of dealing with this. And that's going to take a lot of effort on behalf of everybody. But this is a good start, I think, to bring everyone into the tent to have a good discussion on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prout, and thank you to all the members of the ad hoc committee for the time that you spent developing a proposal for council. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the members of the committee for their expeditious and forward-looking report. I have a couple of comments, and where it's indicated that various stakeholders should be consulted, I don't see any reference at all to the group of people about whom Councillor Prout spoke at the last meeting, and which, in my view, generated this whole exercise. It doesn't seem to me that the farmers are mentioned there at all.
It did say, I'm sorry, go ahead, Michael.
No, please.
We talked about the Nova Scotia Department of Agriculture. In our discussions, we mentioned the Federation of Agriculture. And as I, in my short remarks, mentioned also, and others, which I would take to mean individual farmers. If you look at dairy farmers as a group, or beef farmers, anybody who has a dog in the fight, I think we should be open to having them come in and give their point of view.
That's exactly my point. Thank you. But I would think that some of those organizations should be spelled out and not simply be included under the word more as they are now. Anyway, that's first comment. Second comment is that I understood that this was to be an examination of the subject and making of recommendations. The last paragraph of the report, however, says that the committee will move to eliminate their use. I didn't think the committee was set up to right away decide that. I thought that the committee was going to hear from all of these organizations and then make recommendations to see that written out that the committee will move to eliminate their use was a bit of a surprise. But it's a great beginning. Thank you.
Just to address that, I see where that is here. It says to lead by example, the committee would discover if or how Annapolis County ourselves might be using glyphosate, and for the county to eliminate, say if they were using it in park, I think I remember our discussion, in parks or any place that we had control over, were we actually doing it ourselves? I don't believe, it's my understanding, the intention was for the county to eliminate their own use in areas that they controlled, like campgrounds, parks, that sort of thing, not to eliminate its use by everyone in the county. Am I correct in that recollection?
Thank you. I appreciate those remarks. You're absolutely correct. And I think to address Councilor Morrison's point, this is just a preliminary discussion primarily on how we involve the broader council on helping us form a more substantial committee and begin to identify the experts that we think we'd like to hear from. So it's certainly a work in progress, and I think there's going to be ample opportunity for councilors to serve on this. And again, it's a work in progress. This was just a first draft to lay out some things that we thought were important. And I think at the end of the day, the importance is it's going to take more councilors to be involved in this process.
Carolyn, you wanted to interject?
Yeah, so
I'm just going to relocate myself because the sun shifted enough that I'm being interrogated. So don't mind the bobbing camera.
So this was a working group set up by Committee of the Whole. Is the recommendation to strike a committee? If it is, I helped with a bit of wording, because if you're striking a committee while we are going through the nomination process, Wanda can include a new committee for people to identify if they wanted to be on it. So I had put something together if that's the direction you were going in. If it's not, I'll just stop.
That was certainly my intention as a committee member.
I think Michael.
And mine as well.
Could you read the wording that you had prepared, Carolyn?
So what I pulled out of their report was that municipal council strike a glyphosate advisory committee, which would be ad hoc, because it's got a definite beginning and ending for the period beginning December 2020 and ending April 2021, to be made up of 4 councilors, which include the warden, and a staff person selected by the CAO, to invite stakeholders to present to the committee in order to bring a recommendation to April 2020 Committee of the Whole. Is that where you were going with it?
Absolutely.
And you could also tack onto that, and to include this on the upcoming nominating procedure.
Beautiful.
I would make that motion.
I'd second it.
Moved by Councillor Hemming, seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I am or have been the chair of a couple of ad hoc committees, and I was set quite clear at the beginning that ad hoc committees do not have staff members allocated.
That's correct.
Okay. Glad to know that.
All right. Thank you for that comment, Councillor Morrison. Further discussion on the motion?
So the motion says to include a staff person selected by the CAO.
Well, that would be, if this is being done by resolution, then that would make this an exception to that rule, I would think. Because council can always by resolution do something that's out of the ordinary. Councillor Hemming?
I'd like to see us make that exception, because I thought in my opinion, it's always been kind of a drawback with some of the other committee meetings that I would like to make that exception, because I think a lot of the discussions are going to be around bylaws, health and safety, and I think to have a staff member there at the discretion of the CAO would be very worthwhile.
So is this a staff advisory person? what you're having? Like a staff person to participate on it?
Yes.
Councillor Morrison?
Thank you, and I certainly will not object, but I will give notice that after the nomination process, if I continue to chair an ad hoc committee or two, I will be seeking exactly the same standard for exactly the same reasons that have been set forward here. Thank you.
Right. Councillor Gunn? No?
No, I was just going along ditto with what Gregory said, and I agree with Councillor Morrison. Thank you.
Any further discussion, folks? Councillor Kraut?
Just one further thing. I noticed in Carolyn's motion, we talked about April. I'm not sure, there was some discussion in our group, perhaps after speaking with Carolyn, that we thought it could take a month or two longer, depending on the situation with COVID and so on. Did we not mention
July?
For July.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to get it done, but I would hate to see something rushed to meet a deadline if a couple of extra months or so would help us come to a better resolution of the topic. Just my thought.
I could agree with that. We had actually mentioned, and I thought I had mentioned it in the report, to tell you the truth, that if June or July, July, as a matter of fact, what we had said, wasn't it, Gregory? I'm sure it was.
Okay, perhaps so. You could offer an amendment to that, to make it July.
Would you like to make a motion to amend, Councillor Gunn?
Yes, I would. I'd like to make a motion to amend that motion
I would second it.
to July.
Okay, a discussion on the amendment. All in favor of the motion on the amendment, Councillor LeBlanc?
I thought that an ad hoc committee was supposed to be only for 1 year, or has that been changed? Am I wrong there?
An ad hoc committee has a beginning and an end determined when it's struck.
So it doesn't have to be a year, is what you're saying? I just didn't know. I'm just asking the question.
Okay.
Pardon?
You define it in your terms of reference. You have a start and you should have a start and finish. You can always renew it, but typically people will go 6 months to a year.
Okay. That's wanted to be clear on what was going to happen there. So typically they can go to 2 years if they wish to, and then they can close the ad hoc committee when they're done. Perfect. Thank you. I'm in agreement.
Further discussion on the amendment.
Nope.
Being none, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. And now on the motion as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
And Warden, if I could, as a reminder that I have to leave the meeting at this time for another.
Of course. Thank you, Councillor.
You're late.
I know it. Thank you.
All right, let's proceed now with reports and recommendations. And our first is our returning officer report, Doug Patterson.
We lost him.
Mute. There we go.
There he is.
Oh, no, there we go.
Hello, Council. Thank you very much. So as noted, this is just going to be a verbal report, so it'll be fairly short. A more complete election report with a cost review will be forthcoming. I mostly wanted to just go over some next steps with all of you. So Form 12, where you all as candidates, that is with the exception of Districts 8 and 9, everyone who was a candidate in election that received a voter list and has campaign materials out, that needs to be all taken down by October 27th. And you need to give me back Form 12 signed by then. I'm ready to receive those at any time, and I can help you with them. Any voter lists that you have should either be given back to me, preferably given back to me, hard copy lists, and I can have them shredded, or if you have ones that you have notes on and things as you've worked with them, it is all right if you destroy those yourselves because you're still certifying in Form 12 that you are responsible for them and are responsible for having made sure that they're destroyed. Form 40 is due farther out, but I would urge you, we may as well do it at the same time and take care of it. Form 40 is where you report any third-party contributions. So it's a very simple report to just write nil on if you didn't receive any and sign it. I'm available anytime for anyone that wants to make an appointment or just drop by to be able to complete those. And the next part of my report, I just wanted to quickly relay some key and interesting statistics about the election. We knew that with electronic, we were going to get the vote count and everything taken care of for us, but we also created a lot of new processes and services, and I wanted to make sure we tracked and understood what had happened with them so that we could measure it and know how to do it even better in a future election. I've sent you an email this morning with these details, but I was just going to quickly go over it. So we know we had a high voter participation rate of 47%, and I think that can be attributed to two things. Electronic voting, it's typical across the country for municipalities to see a bit of a boost in participation rates once they go electronic. In our case, though, I think we also had a really interested electorate. We saw a lot of interest right from the beginning once we opened it up to the public that they could check and see if they were on the voter list we received from the province. We've had a really high level of interest in that, and that level of interest continued right through into the beginning of the elections. So I think it's those two factors that drove our higher participation rate. We measured a couple of things. We tried to keep a very general running total on how many of the public had reached out to us to see if they were on the voter list. And our estimate is that it's probably at least 400 different people communicated by phone or email between, I guess the end of July was when we opened up the revision period until October 5th when the election began. That's a pretty high number. I think that was a big surprise in running the election that we hadn't anticipated. It was also interesting to note that somewhere between maybe a little more than 90 of them were not on the voter list and needed to be added. So it was just a great deal of public interest and them checking. That might indicate to us that in a future election, we should look into, are there any tools where people could automatically do it? Because if they're just checking and we don't have to handle it and we don't have to do anything, it's a better service for them if they can just go on a website and look it up. And there are some tools out there. HRM uses a tool like that. So that might be interesting to look at in the future. It could be a cheaper way to handle it and a better service. We also found our voter help desk, so people that supported voters that needed help with electronic voting, took about 400 calls. We opened them up on October 1st and they ran right through the close of the election on the 17th. So that was a pretty active service that we offered. It went very well. The number one need we saw from voters was people reporting that they never got a voter list or never got a voter letter, excuse me. We had a fair number of just general questions about how to vote. So that service ran very well. We had 3 people here in the Annapolis Royal office doing that. They kept up with the calls very well. I think that part of the service and supporting that worked extremely well for voters, and they were generally able to give people immediate answers, reset a PIN if someone needed it, and let people vote immediately. The last thing that we measured, we wanted to see with our voter halls, how many do we need? What kind of level of activity did we get there? So we had the poll worker teams track activity at the halls. The halls ended up being pretty underutilized. Our average per the 12 halls that we had on October 17th and the advance polls in Lawrencetown and Annapolis Royal. Our average of all of those events is probably in the mid to high 20s of number of people that attended. So that's pretty low. The voting was all taking place online or through telephone. That's probably good news for us in how well people accepted electronic voting and how they recognize that it's a lot more convenient to do it from home in 2 weeks versus having to go somewhere. It's also a really good indication for us cost-wise because there are costs associated with setting up those halls and staffing them. So it probably indicates in future elections we don't need that many. I guess those are the big highlights logistically that I wanted to share with you about the election. As I mentioned, a more complete report and final cost report is coming. But do you have any questions, Council?
Councillor Sheridan.
Just one, Doug, in regards to, I was looking at the report. What constitutes for a spoiled ballot on in regards to electronic voting?
It means people could deliberately hit a decline button or something, and it's just sort of a protest vote. But a spoiled ballot means that someone generally got through it, but didn't confirm, didn't complete something. It's the same. It's sort of an electronic version of they didn't mark it right, and like in a paper ballot, it went in and it wasn't marked right and couldn't be counted. So it's someone that managed to get through but didn't mark something right.
So I was just found it unusual when it was electronic, how they can spoil it. Yeah, thank you.
It was a choice.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions? Councillor LeBlanc?
Just a comment, I guess, or two. Again, formally, thank you, Doug. And you're giving us some reports that are very good and good information. And what I did find was when some of my constituents who said, "Oh, I'll be going to the hall," I said, "That's great." But when they found out they weren't going to do the pencil and paper thing, oh, well, I might as well do it on my phone. Because to them, they had that looking of wanting to do it the same way they used to do it. Mm-hmm. But when I go to a hall and the computer was there, well, why would I? If they chose not to, which was fair, right? I mean, but it does show that maybe we don't need that many halls after such a good turnout with just using phones and computers. Thank you.
Councillor Gunn.
Thank you. One thing Doug will have to remember is next time around, there's a couple of districts who didn't use electronic voting this time. So next time around, when they're going to use it, well, who knows, but when they're going to use electronic voting there, we'll have to make sure that people are versed in it or become versed in it somehow.
Good point, Mike.
Right.
It's not as difficult as you think.
If there's no further questions, I'd ask for a motion to receive the returning officer's report. Moved by Councillor Sheridan and seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much, Doug.
Thank you, Council. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug.
All right, let's go on with reports and recommendations from the Committee of the Whole. Deputy Warden.
Nova Scotia Guide Association grant. In accordance with the recommendation of Committee of the Whole, I move Council approve a grant in the amount of $500 from the Marketing and Promotions Partnership Program to the Nova Scotia Guides Association in assistance with the 100th anniversary celebration taking place at Milford House in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Clarence Community Club grant. I move in accordance with the recommendation of Committee of the Whole that Municipal Council approve a grant in the amount of $2,400 from the Community Halls and Centers Assistance Program to the Clarence Community Club to assist with kitchen upgrades, painting of floors, walls, and general repairs to the windows and doors in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Paradise Community Hall Association Grant. Pursuant to the recommendation of Committee of the Whole, I move that Municipal Council approve a grant in the amount of $4,800 from the Capital Projects Assistance Program, Small Project Matching Grants to the Paradise Historical Society to assist with the purchase and installation of heat pumps and chimney repair for the old Paradise School in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Counselor Sheridan. Thank you. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Agriculture uses of blue phosphate. I move pursuant to the recommendations of Committee of the Whole and pending input from agricultural sector that Municipal Council take no further action that would impact the agriculture use of blue phosphate in Annapolis County.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Counselor Gunn.
McNeil.
Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
TBR Telecommunications Renewal. Whereas Section 66 of the Municipal Government Act provides the municipality of the County of Annapolis, subject to the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, may borrow to expend funds for a capital purpose authorized by statute, and whereas the municipality of the County of Annapolis has adopted a capital budget for this fiscal year as required by Section 65 of the Municipal Government Act, and are so authorized to expend funds for capital purpose as identified in their capital budget. In accordance with the recommendation of Committee of the Whole, I move that under the authority of Section 66 of the Municipal Government Act, the municipality borrow a sum or sums not exceeding $13 million in total for the purpose set out above, subject to the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the sum be borrowed by the issue and sale of debentures of the municipality to such an amount as the council deems necessary, and that the issue of debenture be postponed pursuant to the Section 92 of the Municipal Government Act, and that the municipality borrow from time to time a sum or sums not exceeding $13 million in total from any chartered bank or trust company doing business in Nova Scotia, and the sum be borrowed for a period not exceeding 12 months from the date of the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing of this resolution, and that the interest payable on the borrowing be paid at the rate to be agreed upon, and the amount borrowed be repaid from the proceeds of the debenture when sold.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Counselor. And discussion on the motion.
Who was your seconder?
It was Counselor Gunn and Counselor McNeil were almost the same moment, but I tagged Counselor Gunn first.
Thank you.
Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay recorded, please.
Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
Nova Scotia Ground Search and Rescue Wilderness Survival Guide advertisement. I move in accordance with the recommendation of Committee of the Whole that Municipal Council place a half-page color advertisement in the 2020 Nova Scotia Ground Search and Rescue Wilderness Survival Guide.
Seconder for the motion.
McNeil.
Seconded by Counselor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Lawrencetown Community Hall Grant. Pursuant to the recommendation of Committee of the Whole, I move that Municipal Council approve a grant in the amount of $1,200 from the Community Halls and Centers Association Program, Assistance Program, to the Lawrencetown Community Hall Association to assist with maintenance to the exterior of the hall in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
HARP application to the Federal Climate Action and Awareness Fund request. I move pursuant to the recommendation of Committee of the Whole that Municipal Council provide a letter of support to be an in-kind project partner for Clean Annapolis River projects application to the Federal Climate Action and Awareness Fund pending receipt and review of the application.
Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion.
Did we get anything?
Yes, we did. There's quite an extensive package in your agenda. And I wanted to comment on that. It was exciting to see the thoroughness of CARP's application. I think that what they're proposing to do is going to take us a significant step towards our objective with the development of a climate forest. So I'm very strongly in favor of this. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Kirk Hicks Ravenhaven Boat Launch and Parking Lot Proposal. In accordance with the recommendation of Committee of the Whole, I move that Municipal Council refer the proposal received from Kirk Hicks regarding a Ravenhaven boat launch and parking lot proposal to staff for further consideration and recommendations.
Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Morrison. Oh, you're muted, sir.
Thank you. I'll support this motion, and I'm not offering an amendment, but my understanding is that our employee is the Chief Administrative Officer, and that's the person to whom we should refer subjects for action. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, folks? Councillor Morrison is quite correct, but I think we understand what the intention was here. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Additional capital funding groundwater well pump replacement. I move in accordance with the recommendation of Committee of the Whole that Municipal Council approve additional capital funding for the groundwater well pump replacement as follows. $12,000 be approved from the Annapolis Water Utility Reserve for the repair of the DAF unit and replacement of the backwash pump at the Cornwallis Water Treatment Plant, and $20,000 to be approved from the Bridgewater Utility Reserve for the groundwater well pump replacement.
Seconder for the motion.
Bridgetown. And she said Bridgewater, but she meant Bridgetown.
Yes. Caught that.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
When I called for a second, I heard someone's voice, but I couldn't figure out who it was. Oh, Councillor Gunn, thank you. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
November Committee of the Whole, pursuant to the recommendation of Committee of the Whole, I move that Municipal Council direct CAO to arrange a venue large enough to hold in-person November Committee of the Whole safely in accordance with the Nova Scotia government regulations.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by
McNeil.
Well, Councillor, I caught Councillor Gunn first. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Thank you. Motion's passed. Motion's carried. And I believe that takes, oh, we got one more.
The D&D reimbursement agreement. I move pursuant to the recommendation of Committee of the Whole that Municipal Council authorize the Board and Clerk to sign the reimbursement agreement with Department of Natural Defense to permit the use and occupancy of D&D lands for municipality of Annapolis County source water operations at Granville Ferry, and that the municipality meet the financial commitments for cost incurred by D&D to enter into this lease agreement.
Seconder for the motion.
McNeil.
Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. We go on from there to correspondence. Our first piece of correspondence is a letter from the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans in response to the letter of support that we sent connected to Roland Hamilton's concerns about restrictions in the eel fishery. And the response that we have received, as you've had a chance to read, essentially states that because this is now a subject of litigation, that they can't correspond about it any further. Could I have a motion to receive the correspondence?
Move.
Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Next, we have correspondence from the Soldiers Memorial Hospital Foundation. And I believe this is a thank you for the donation that we agreed upon. Could I have a motion?
Receive for information.
Moved by Councillor Neal. Oh, Councillor Carolyn, yes.
So I want to point out that they're thanking you for your commitment. You have not designated when that is to start.
Understood. Thank you. All right. So it's moved to be received by Councillor McNeil. Who was seconding that? Seconded by Councillor Sheridan. Discussion. All in favor signify. Oh, Councillor Sheridan, go ahead.
In regards to Carolyn's comment, do we have a date where a start date or something that we may want to input into that? Because we have a 5-year commitment, right?
Yes.
So is it starting this year? Are we going to start committing this year or?
I'm not,
Oh, it's 10,000 over five each.
It's 50,000 over 5 years.
Right, so 10,000 each year, is that it?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we could probably find the money this year, but I don't know if council's made a decision on that.
No,
Okay.
they haven't.
Okay, so it can be brought forth in committee, the whole package or something. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gunn?
Thank you. I thought we were going to start that this year. Because that was after our budget had been set. When
We were
that
going to look,
request-
yeah,
right?
we were
And
going to
then
look
we're-
into it. Yeah, I agree with you,
Certain-
Michael.
Certainly next year we would start it.
I was under the impression this was one of the expenditures that we, regarding which we wanted to review the quarterly
Right.
financial.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's right.
I think it also, in that discussion, it also became relevant that they were looking for a commitment sooner rather than later.
Right.
And so I think we could probably find the money this year and make a commitment this year, but it's up to council.
Okay.
I'd make that motion that if John can find the money, we start it this year.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Let's do
got a motion on the floor right now. We can get right afterwards. All in favor of the motion to receive the letter signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Councillor Gunn, is there a motion you'd like to make?
I would like to move that Annapolis County started its,
Commitment.
I'm looking for a word here, Ally.
Commitment?
It's commitment to the Soldiers Memorial Hospital.
Make the first contribution of $10,000 for a 5-year total commitment not exceeding $50,000.
That's it.
I'll second that.
So moved.
Sheridan. Further discussion?
Just were we including, was that for 2020, 2021? Just
Yes.
first commitment?
Yes.
Deputy Warden?
So we had 3 projects that we couldn't support. And I thought that that was the whole purpose of reviewing our quarterly report. And then when we did that, they said, we were told that it would be an overall at the end. But I thought when we put the motion forward, when Councillor Sheridan made the motion to review our quarterly report. It was for the purpose of trying to fulfill the 3 projects that was not committed to.
That was correct.
That's correct. I think that was, I believe, what the original intention. I think what's been expressed is that the organization has indicated that having that commitment begin early matters to them.
Oh, no, and I don't agree with that. It's just, I guess when we reviewed our quarterly report, we didn't address what the motion was intended for, because we still have 2 projects that are not being supported and haven't been mentioned.
Point taken.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next, we have a letter from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 1. It's the standard request, of course, for commitment to purchase wreaths. We have a motion to receive this letter.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify, Councillor Sheridan.
Well, they're asking us if we're going to send somebody to the Legion, or if we're going to make a donation and have somebody from their Legion to lay the wreath. So I think we should make a decision on that.
Yes. Or just lay the wreath at the center.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have 3 options there.
Yes.
So we should probably make a decision on this.
I would certainly, of course. How would shall we withdraw the motion to receive it in that case, and instead make a motion to respond?
Yes, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, so moved.
Second,
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so what option would council like to select?
Well, we're not even going in chambers, so I presume, and most of them are not doing any big presentations from what I can gather. It's probably best just to send the money, and they could lay it for the council. That's my suggestion.
I'd agree with C, like a designated Legion member, lay it on your
Yes.
behalf. And
Exactly.
yes.
All right,
So
so that's Deputy Warden, your thoughts?
Well, if they're laying them outside at the cenotaph, I guess I don't understand why councilors wouldn't participate like we normally do, because there's no reception, there's no nothing, but you do have the privilege to go and lay the wreath still.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't understand why we're not going to continue like we normally do, because it's going to be outside instead of being inside.
Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I agree with the deputy warden. However, right now we are discussing 1 wreath for 1 branch.
yeah.
And my assumption is, like that of the deputy warden, that we will continue with the custom each year of donating wreaths and laying them as appropriate for each of the Legion branches in our districts.
Yeah.
Councillor McDonald?
I know normally the last few years I placed the wreath at the Middleton Legion, and you know what, it's very well received. Seeing as how it's November 11th is immediately following November 10th, the day the new councilors are day after the new councilors are sworn in, that it won't be me, but I'm going to suggest somebody put their hand up and say they'd like to do that for Middleton. I think it's very well received that we are in attendance there. That's my only point.
Councillor LeBlanc?
Well, we certainly did take our turns because I started, and then I spoke to Councillor McDonald if he wanted to take a turn because he didn't have any place to go. So, and I think Councillor Sheridan, you had a place to go. Are you still doing that one this year as well?
I'm not certain if that's still on. Mine was at the church in Nick Hall, and I'm not sure if that's taking place right at the moment. But with the way I'm reading this, it says the wreath has to be pre-laid. It's not, there's no ceremony, like they
Right.
canceled the normal service.
Right.
And you have to go and pre-lay it, so it's just a matter of taking it. There won't be a service, there won't be, from what I understand, there won't be someone there. So it's, I guess that's the options that they had given us. So maybe I'm not reading it correctly, but that's what I take.
No, it says one person with a PPE from your organization.
But the reads are being
Yeah.
pre-laid.
B said relayed, yeah.
Pre-laid. They're not going to be done that day. It's pre-done.
But they could still participate.
That's,
Yes, they could be present at the ceremony.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Councillor Gunn?
3 options, yes.
Oh, you're muted. Oh, you're good?
That's all right. Sorry, no, my mistake. I was just sort of putting my hands up saying, well, I have 3 legions. I tried to do that.
That's right. All right. There's a motion currently on the floor. Carolyn, could you read the motion back for us?
There was a motion to receive for information, which was withdrawn. There was no mover and seconder for anything else.
There was
a suggestion to pay for a wreath and have a designated Legion member lay the wreath. There was no mover and seconder for that. There was discussion.
before we go to the question, I'm just wondering, if I may, what are we going to do with everybody else? Like, we just don't have one Legion. This is just Middleton. And it's like Councillor Gunn said, he has what, 3? Deputy Warden, you had what? 3 as well? And so, yeah, so I guess we should make a decision of what we're going to do for everybody at the same time. Just consideration here, how everybody asks and what they're going to do.
Councillor Gunn?
Thank you. If I may, how I would like to be able to handle the cenotaphs in my district is to see how the organizations are going to handle the cenotaphs in my district. And then if they're having just some people by the monument to lay a wreath, I'm there in all 3 cases. Thank you.
There.
Thank you. Carolyn?
So in the past, each counselor in their district would contact wherever, not necessarily always at a Legion, would contact wherever their Remembrance Day ceremonies take place and see how to move forward that way. On November 11th, this council won't be all sitting to be able to claim that expense back. It's kind of an awkward, it's an awkward year for this.
Something does occur to me is each of these organizations that are hosting ceremonies, it's incumbent upon each of them to follow all the provincial rules for social distancing and the use of protective gear. If councillors simply, and there may be different procedures at different legions, but they're all required to meet the provincial standards. So if councillors simply proceed as they normally would and follow the procedures proposed by each of the legions, I think it really becomes a non-issue for us.
When you read this, if I may, when you read this, well, for this second paragraph, it says,
Right.
Remembrance Day service will be held on Wednesday, November 11th at the Royal Canadian Legion, Middleton, commencing at 11. There'll be 3 options for laying the wreath. 1, you wear a PPE, doesn't mean that you're going to put everything down. Because B says they're going to lay it, and C says, or a designated Legion member.
Same as any year.
So it's almost as if you're just going to be there standing, not putting anything down.
No, you lay it yourself.
It's the same as any year.
That's right.
Well, I never remembered having a wreath pre-laid at the cenotaph any other year.
So Councillor LeBlanc, this would be a ceremony that you would normally attend, this particular one.
Yes, yeah.
So this is something where you could actually send us, just on your own behalf, a response indicating what your preference would be. That's what I meant by each different legion may have its own procedures. And it'd be up to the councillors who would normally go to those legions to find out what those procedures are and make sure that you act in accordance with those.
I'll take this on. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
In that case, a motion to receive for information would be appropriate. Would someone like to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Gunn, seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Next piece of correspondence is from Marty Fancy, who has some comments about the Gordonston project. Some questions about that. Councillor Gunn?
Receive for information.
Been moved to receive.
For information, yeah.
Move to receive for information by Councillor Gunn, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion, Deputy Warden.
So, I mean, he has questions. Have anybody contacted or answered or?
I would point out that I contacted Mr. Fancy and spent more than an hour talking with him on the phone and answering a number of his questions. I know that at some point an economic impact study is being commissioned that will be available to the public. And I think that's going to answer a lot of questions that some residents have, because they would like to see exactly what kind of impact this will have on the different financial sectors within the county. But yes, I spent quite a bit of time with Mr. Fancy on the phone. Councillor Gunn?
Thank you. So I've had a lot of people inquiring about the school through the years. You know, it's not a quiet subject. But if you'll indulge me, and if I could read another letter that I got this morning from one of my residents, I'll be real quick about it. Hi, Mike. I'm not writing about the internet this time. Nice change, eh? With the changes in council following the election, I am now concerned with the development of the Gordonston School. I am concerned that there are new council members who will actively seek to halt the development of this facility. Innovation is the way forward for rural Nova Scotia. Hosting this school will bring economic and cultural diversity to this area that will only serve us well. I am concerned that there is a pervasive attitude that this school comes at the expense of our local educational quality. This is not true, as education is not funded by the municipality in my understanding. I will stand corrected if this is not the case. I would be interested, and she's going to get it, I would be interested to know where you stand with the Gordonston development and how you will represent our area's opinion on this matter. Thank you again for responding from my concern. So now here's somebody that really likes the development of the school. I've had, got it from both sides, but really likes the development, but hopes that people don't take it that it's coming out of our educational, funds. So it's very interesting. And I will respond with my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on the motion to receive this letter for information. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have a letter from the Minister of the Environment, and this is.
I have to. Sorry, Mr. Warden. I have to leave. I'm sorry, but I have to go.
Understood. Thank you, Councilor.
Right. Thank you. Good luck, everybody. We'll be talking to you.
See you, Bert.
Bert. Peace, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a letter from the Minister of the Environment. It's in response to the letter that we sent with regards to glyphosate spraying over forest lands. You'll see that down to item G, we have a similar letter from the Minister of Lands and Forestry. I have to say, I'm disappointed by the shallowness of both responses. These responses read exactly like form letters. It's a brush off. And I would suggest that council not abandon this particular issue. I think it's too important. That council should be actively seeking solutions for this, determining exactly what authorities might reside within the municipal realm to play a role in this particular issue. But I would at this point ask for a motion to receive the letter from the Ministry of the Environment for information.
No move.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Prout. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have a letter from the Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve Association, and it is slipping my mind right now exactly what that one was about. Does anyone have it close to the tip of their tongue? Councillor Carolyn, yes.
We had permitted them to switch funding that they'd received from
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was.
the Amazing Places project is what they received it for. And we permitted them to switch it to the Science Atlas project.
Yeah, for a book.
Thank you for that reminder. Could I have a motion to receive this for information?
Right here.
Moved by Councillor McDonald and seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have the Minister of Lands and Forestry. And again, this is much like the previous letter. Could I have a motion to receive for information?
No move.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by the Deputy Warden. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. And finally, we have a motion from the Fundy Folk Association, the Evergreen Theatre, and it's a thank you letter. We have a motion to receive that for information.
Sorry,
Moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on the motion.
sorry, I missed that somewhere.
Councillor Morrison?
What page are we on?
That is on page 36.
I thought he's trying to correct an error.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
No, the
No,
error that he's correcting is the first email that he sent was thanking for the $1,200. The error that he's correcting is that he received $2,400, and that's what he's thanking us for.
Yeah, he corrected himself. Yeah.
yes.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a pleasure. Thank you for your work today, and I will declare the meeting adjourned. Oh, John, are you're waiting for anything else?
Just, did you folks approve the wheeling rate? I can't remember.
Yes, it was done right. It was done right after the in-camera session.
Yes. I do have a question. The CAO had been talking about the audit committee before we went in camera.
Yes.
That needed further discussion. John, you were talking about maybe having an audit.
Well, they're looking to have it on Thursday.
Right.
We can send out, I have to have a discussion with them, but we
Okay.
can send out a notice as soon as we know, but that's when they're available.
I expect you'll consult the chair.
Yes.
Oh, the audit.
The chair of the audit committee is not available on Thursday until 1100.
This Thursday at 1100?
That's when I'm available.
Okay. I got your email, but it had different dates. I was just. Okay.
All right.
It's Thursday at 11?
Once that's confirmed, I'll be calling you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Holly?
Holly,
That would seem a reasonable time because they would have to travel down.
Holly?
So Beth's email said that they were available the 28th of October and the 29th. That's next Thursday and Friday.
Oh, okay.
28th.
I got a different date from Harold. Okay.
28th.
Okay, 'cause that's what Beth's email said this morning, but
Okay. Look, we'll verify and we'll get back to council
yeah.
Fair
and
enough.
to the committee.
All right. Well, that is, so unless there's anything else, John?
That's it.
That's it. All right. I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.